Welcome, Walnut. I'm Lara, but you can call me Laz, your host for Walnut Wednesday. This is your reminder to be brave, be yourself, and know that you can make the world a better place just by what you decide today. Here, I'm going to share my weekly walnuttings with you on a Wednesday. Hello, Walnut. It is me, Laz, here for another episode of Walnut Wednesday, and I am so excited to have the beautiful Hannah Porter from Bear Moo on the podcast today. Welcome, Hannah.
Hi. Thank you so
Thank
much for having me.
thank you so much for visiting us. Walnut, I'm a little bit excited, scaresighted. I'm not gonna lie, Hannah, I am a little bit starstruck. This is so lovely, which I'll touch on a little bit later. But before we dive in, can I get you just to introduce yourself if there is a walnut listening who is like, what's Bear Moo? Who is
Yeah,
Hannah? What is this? Why are you starstruck?
absolutely. So, I am the founder and director of Bear Moo. So, I started almost 7 years ago and launched as a reusable cloth nappy brand, and that was kind of the only product we did. And then we expanded that into other kind of mum and baby products. I had a third child, so I launched a third or another brand called Hello Poppet, which is our kids' clothing line. And now we're kind of a full service e-commerce online shopping website for families. So we do everything from our own brand stuff through to lunchboxes and games and toys, school bags, books, lactation products, kind of the whole shebang. And yeah, primarily online. And so that's my fourth child. That's my baby.
I love how you call it your fourth child because I feel like Walnut Wednesday was once my child as well, you
Yeah,
know, like it is they are really you put your heart and soul into them just like you do when you're having actual human or fur children as well, you know.
absolutely.
And I love that with becoming a whole e-commerce online store thing that you have become because you really are a one-stop shop that like anything I have thought that I needed is on your website.
We try. I think there's been some trial and error along the ways, and we've stopped some products that we no longer stock, and we've kind of changed it up. But we've very much found our niche. Like our tagline is for your everyday family, and
Mm.
we've kind of found our niche in that everyday family market. We're not bougie, we're not super well put together. Um, it's kind of, but we try to cover almost everything that you could need. Yeah.
Yeah, and I that definitely like fizzles through into like your branding and everything because yeah, I've honestly like been able and the tabs are so easy to follow. If I
Yay.
like before having the condition of pregnancy and like birthing of a little vampire myself, I didn't I was always struggling with like what to get for baby showers and things and you've even got little tabs of gift giving and since having a baby, I've actually looked through it and I'm like, oh yeah, that was handy. That was handy. You know, like it's really well thought of and easy to navigate.
We love that because websites are one of those things that we're planning to work on a new website at the moment, but you just never know quite what people are looking for and how to find it. And yeah, it's always a work in progress.
Yeah, no, it's well, feedback from me is that it's very easy to navigate, especially when I'm like got my hands full. I'm a busy little bee.
Yeah.
It's really great to work around and work through it. I did want to chat about the reusable nappy thing because I feel like and felt like especially when I was like starting to prep for like labor and things all my feelings of trying to be kind to the environment kind of went out the window because I had to look at nappies for myself, pad, like everything like that. And I kind of like had to almost force myself to be at peace with the fact that I wasn't able to be conscious of things like that right now because
Yeah.
I've got like bigger fish to fry essentially. So I would love if you could like talk me through a little bit about the reusable nappy thing and like because there are obviously some fears about not fears but like people are have their reservations about
Yeah.
starting their cloth
I
nappy
think
journey.
one of my big gripes with cloth nappies, and this is part of how Bear Moo came about, is there
Mm.
is so much information out there about reusable nappies. And the downside to that is people then get really overwhelmed because they start reading and they start watching videos and they start talking to people, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this because I have to be perfect and I have to have all the things set up and ready to go in order for it to be perfect. And I like when we were never full-time cloth. I've got three kids now, and we have always used reusables from the time they grew out of newborn disposables. So we did disposables while we were still in hospital and right up until they grew out of the newborn size, and then we switched to cloth. And
Okay.
we've always done disposables at night. And we've always done them like if we were going to be on a long drive or something like that, because for us that just worked. So I
Yeah.
think the first thing is recognizing that it's not all or nothing and you don't have to be perfect. You can, I'm only ever going to use them when I'm at home, or I'm only going to use them when they go into the grandparents and the grandparents can deal with it. Whatever the situation is, you can pick and choose. But I think the other thing is if the best time to start is as early as you can, the second best time to start is now. And so you don't have to have everything set up and ready to go. Just get a handful of nappies, put them on your kid, wash them, and away you go. And I think people really overcomplicate it. You know, they're like, oh, I've got to have the right dry pail basket to put everything in. Mine go on the laundry floor until they're ready to be washed. Like, or they used to go in an empty protein powder bucket because we had one lying around. Like, if you don't think you've got all the right, I don't have the right detergent, cool, neither did we. Use whatever you've got. We'll figure it out later. And I think people get so caught up in making sure it's perfect, and it really doesn't have to be. There's
Hmm.
very little you could do to completely stuff it up. We can fix things later. Like if they start to smell or if something's not working, we can always fix it later. Um,
Hmm.
I think the only thing that's kind of, I say, a requirement is that you do two wash routines with cloth. And I
Yeah.
think the wash routine is where people get a little bit stumbled. But um, again, what we would say is do a wash with all your nappies, wipes, anything that's touched poos and wees, add in the rest of the baby clothes and do a second wash. Done. And we only wash nappies twice a week. We kind of do a midweek and a weekend. You don't have to do them every day. We say warm to hot, but then I know that we've got customers that have done nothing but cold washes for years and have been totally fine. We say only do the dryer on a low heat. I know customers that have used a dryer the whole way through and they've been fine. So I think we put these expectations on ourselves, and sometimes you just have to stop and be like, I'm going to do what I can do and I'll just make it work.
Yeah.
Um, don't put that pressure on yourself that I've got to do it immediately and I've got to do it full time and it's got to be perfect. Just do what you can do and we can fix it and figure things out later.
Oh my gosh, I'm like immediately at ease and I'm immediately like, I can do this because that's what I do anyway. Like if I have like a punami situation, just that item goes in the wash by itself for a little rinsey poo and
Yeah,
then the other stuff goes in
everything
with it with the detergent and stuff. So
exactly.
I'm halfway there already.
Really are. And it's actually not, yeah, it's nowhere near as hard as people think it is. Um, but and lots of people get really into it and and they want to do overnight or they want to do all the different things. But, we go camping every year and we always take reusable nappies with us and we do cloth while we're camping and we make it work. But not everybody's gonna do that. If you want to use disposables for a period of time, that's fine too. Like it doesn't have to be all or nothing. But
Hmm.
every single one that you use is about 50 cents you haven't had to spend on a disposable and is one you don't have to send to landfill. And as a country, we send about 1 million disposable nappies a week to landfill. So, everyone we cannot send is kind of handy.
Yeah, every little bit does
Every little
truly
bit.
genuinely count. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
But the cost savings for me were the biggest thing. Like I mean, obviously a lot's changed since my eldest was born almost 10 years ago. But at that point, I was buying a box of nappies a week, and a box was costing me about $30. And I was
Yeah.
spending $120 a week on groceries because you could do that 10 years ago. And I was like, I don't want to spend a quarter of my grocery budget every single week on nappies. I'd rather buy food. And that was the switch for me. Whereas now we'll buy a box of nappies and it will last us, I don't know, a month or two, because we're only using one a day. And so for me, I was like, that immediately was the reason.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, because my grocery bill has gone up because we got to the little point where we finally ran out of like all the baby shower
Yeah.
nappies and all of the nappy cake and all the things.
Yeah.
And then started having to add in the nappies to the weekly shop. And yeah, it is about that much.
Yeah.
And yeah, that. that ever-flowing gratitude when like
And yeah,
mother-in-law comes to visit and brings a
oh,
box because it's like, oh my
absolutely. I mean,
gosh.
it's the most practical thing to ask for at a baby shower is, the stuff that you're going to need that you're going to have to buy. But then especially if you've got multiple children or if you're formula feeding, that's expensive. So by the time you add those
Mm,
things in as well, it's like your grocery bill just goes through the roof. And so cloth nappies, I just think are an easy way that you can make a small change. As I say, you don't have to switch them all out, but you can make a small change that will directly affect your grocery bill. Whereas, something like formula, there isn't necessarily a cheaper option. If you're buying it, you're buying it.
mm.
Um, but this is just, yeah, it's something that is reasonably accessible for the majority of people. Not everybody. Everybody's got their reasons, but for the majority of people, I think it's reasonably accessible.
Oh my gosh. I feel like it's quite similar to like making the shift to like period undies. And it's
Yeah,
like it's a small little habitual change that you just need to make.
yeah,
But once you're in it and you're doing it, it's like, oh, that wasn't
yeah.
even a thing.
It was no, absolutely exactly the same. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And burning question I have, Hannah.
Yeah.
What about because I'm currently in the transition to starting solids, which means the poos are changing. So like what happens when you have like the different kind of not little lovely newborn easy breezy poos?
Yeah. So the the booze. Sorry to anybody who's listening who's like eating on lunch break right now, but um, the poo situation depends on absolutely the stage. Like when they are little and newborn, if they are solely breastfed, breastfed poo is water soluble. So it doesn't need to be rinsed or flushed down the toilet. You can literally put that nappy straight in the washing machine and the machine
Mhm.
will rinse it all off. But once they eat solids, you kind of can't do that as much. So as much as you can flick it down the toilet, you can get a silicone brush, or loads of people will get like a knife and label it the bathroom knife and scrape it into the toilet or use toilet
Okay.
paper or whatever. So as much as you can goes in the toilet. I give it a rinse in the laundry and then again just wait till wash day. You still don't need to wash every day. It can still sit there for a couple of days before you wash them. Um, yeah, the older they get and the more solid their poo gets, the easier it is to flick it into the toilet.
Mm.
Sometimes when they're in that middle stage, it can be a little bit harder, but you just kind of do your best with getting off what you can. The thing to remember is that if you're using disposables, that poo's supposed to go in the toilet too, because otherwise it just sits in landfill forever. Says it on the side of the nappy packs, but lots of people don't. They just chuck it in landfill. So really, it shouldn't be any different to dealing with disposables, except that the nappy then gets washed. Yeah.
That I'm doing that like blow brain emoji. Oh my gosh. Nope, never read that. Never.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right. It really does just sit there. It's just a whole bunch of poo, and we just sat there inside a little wrapped up parcel
Yeah.
that doesn't
Exactly.
decompose for 50 billion years.
No, and nobody tells you these things because, you get pregnant and you have a baby and then they're like, oh, sweet, see you later, go home from hospital now. And you're like, great,
I know.
how do I do this parenting gig?
Yes.
So, like there's no instruction manual. Nobody tells you these things. So yeah, you just figure it out as you go.
Oh my gosh, I'm so pleased to be having this conversation. I feel so much more reassured to like be like, I can do this. I can try the thing, like
Yeah.
I think especially when you first have a baby, I just keep talking because I'm fresh out of those sort of feelings, but like you just don't really have the brain capacity or bandwidth to think of other
No.
options that aren't plonked in front of your face,
Oh,
sort of thing.
it's And I think the thing to remember is that I mean, reusable nappies, different brands are different prices and things like that. But our ones, generally speaking, if you bought one and you used it once every 3 days, it's paid off in roughly 3 months. So if you don't start until babe is 6 months old or even a year old, you're still going to end up saving money in the long run because after that 3 month point, it's essentially free.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and I mean, plus you can then use them on future children if you have more kids, or if you're one and done, you can sell them and make some money back on them. So, it's always it doesn't if you kind of in that newborn phase and you're like, I cannot. I'm struggling with sleep deprivation and all of the other things that we do as new parents. I just can't. Then don't. And then when you can, it's still worthwhile. It's still, there's kind of no point where it's too late to give it a go, I don't
Hmm.
think. Um, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's why I'm just so grateful to be having this conversation with you and to be having it now. Because if I'm honest, it didn't even really cross my mind until actually I joined my baby in like swimming lessons, and I have some of your swimming nappies, and I thought, actually, hang on, if this is probably really similar to like a reusable, like if not
Yeah.
almost the same.
Yeah.
Um, and so if I'm freaked out about that, then there's not really actually anything to freak out about because that was easy.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to buy, a massive full-time collection to start with. You can buy a handful. There's value packs and things that you can get bits and pieces for. But even if you did decide to go all in, or somebody did, you're looking at kind of $400 to get four to 500 to get everything you need to get to do it full time, maybe except for night times. Um, Whereas disposables from newborn to toilet training is going to cost you around 4 grand. So you're looking at about 10 to 15% of the cost. And I understand that cost is a barrier of entry for people because people don't often have $400 just sitting around. Hence why I'm like, you don't have to get it all at once. You can stage it as you can afford it. We have Afterpay and Zip, and I'm sure loads of other cloth nappy brands do as well. So you can kind of, yeah, you could say, right, I can afford to do $10 a week for 6 weeks or whatever it is with
Yeah.
Afterpay. And so you can write, right, I'll get three to start with and I can pay that off and then I'll get another three or whatever. So I think thinking about how, you can, or put them on your baby shower registry if you're pregnant, bang them on the registry and be like, right, just give me nappies.
Mm.
Because it's just going to save you in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. D delicious. Delicious, delicious. I have a couple of questions that I noted down because I asked around. Um, I when I was at the baby expo last year, obviously with a big giant bowling ball, I remember like I was like a deer in the headlights being like, I don't
Yeah.
know what I need or what to do.
God, that's so
And
overwhelming. Yep.
and I was with my friend and we walked past Bear Moo because I had seen you guys on Instagram and stuff, but obviously she has a child, so she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so starstruck because I see her on Instagram all the time." And I was like, "What? What do you mean?" And that's what I was meaning when we first started was like because now I do have a baby. I do and I see you, Hannah, on Instagram all the time.
All
So
the time.
like
Yeah.
it's really yeah, your brand is really amazing and it's like it shows in all of your stuff. You can feel that community. You can feel that you think about people. You feel just like a regular person, even though I'm a little bit starstruck, but it's like easy breezy. Do you know what I mean? It's not like,
Yeah,
oh my God.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I
Um,
don't, like I said before, we don't do bougie and kind of curated. So I think that probably helps with that, hopefully.
Absolutely. Like yeah, you can just feel the vibe of your brand. It's amazing. And it's nice that we actually do see you.
Yeah.
And you're the owner
Yeah.
or all the things,
Yeah.
it's like
All the
it
things.
makes
Yeah.
it feel that community-ish vibe. But yeah, so anyway, I was telling my friends, I was like, I'm gonna talk to Hannah today. Do you have any questions? And so do you have any like pros and cons of owning your own business and like going for it as like
Oh,
a Kiwi mum just doing
yeah.
her thing? Like,
I think there's a few, I mean, I could talk about owning a business till the cows come home. I love it. But I think there's a few things to think about. One is starting a business has never been easier. Like it is so easy to start a business because you've got access to, website platforms like Shopify where it's,
yeah,
free to get set up and like there's so much the barrier to entry to starting a business is easy. Growing a business is so incredibly hard. And I think there is lots of mums in particular who go on maternity leave, which is exactly what I did, and went, I don't want to go back to work. I'm going to start a business. And that's exactly how Bear and Mo started. But I think it's recognizing that if you start a business and you're selling the same stuff as everybody else, you've got to find a way to cut
yeah,
through that. And like there's so much that we sell that 100 other stores in the country sell. And it's why are people going to choose you, some new business that nobody's ever heard of, over somebody that's already got the brand awareness. So you've got to really think about what's going to set you apart. And for us, that was why we started purely with cloth nappies. That was our gap in the market. That was what we did. Everything else kind of followed because people were already then coming to us. But
yeah,
it is really hard to grow a business. It's not likely to be a part-time side hustle, depending on what
yeah.
what you're doing and how it happens. There have been a lot of 60-hour weeks in the last 7 years. And I think particularly as a woman, we put more pressure on ourselves.
Yep.
I had Maddie on a Monday, and the following Monday I was at HQ with a week-old baby, breastfeeding her in the recliner chair while people worked around me just so that I could like be there because I didn't think the business would kind of, and I was very lucky that my husband was working for the business by then and I was in and out a lot, but we lost two babies through
Oh,
our journey. And like one of them, I had a D&C on a Wednesday, and that Friday we were running a sale and I was back at work. Like it's what we do as women. Um,
mm,
and that's not to say that running a business has to be like that. I think um, the other really important thing to remember when you start a business is the only point in working for yourself is if it works for you.
yep.
So you've got to, I'm not very good at this, but you've got to have boundaries and you've got to learn to say no and you've got to go, does this is this working for me and my family? Because if it's not, you've got to have the balls to say, actually, no, like my business doesn't need to be the biggest in the world. It needs to work for me and my family. And so I think we have this obsession with growing. We had an article that went live Christmas Day, wasn't just gone, must have been last year. Oh, I can't remember. And the headline was like, from $6,000 to $3 million, how a mum built this empire, blah blah blah. And I'm like, that's cool, but we lost money last year, and that $3 million, we weren't profitable. And so we have this really big obsession with like making more revenue and seven-figure business and blah blah blah. And I'm like, cool, but
Wow.
we were making more profit when we were doing a significantly smaller amount of revenue. And now it's been a hard slog that we're trying to kind of turn that around. And so sometimes it's knowing when to be like, you know what, actually, this is good. Like I'm making enough profit that I can support myself and my family. I can stabilize it. The only other thing to really think about, and I was about to write something on LinkedIn this morning, and then I was like, no, I need to take a moment and actually put some brain power into this. Now's not the time when we're in the middle of end of financial year stock take, but um starting a small business these days, you've got to be prepared to be on social media. So you've got to be willing to put your face online. You've got to become a content creator. It's not about I'm going to set up a shop or I'm going to become a business advisor or I'm going to do freelance marketing or whatever it is that you want to do to work for yourself. You can't just slap an ad in the newspaper like you used to be able to do and tell your friends and they'll share the word around. You've got to show up on social media and build a brand and all of that stuff. And so I think branding and marketing and social have just become so important that I feel like that's 80% of a business owner's job these days. Yes, I order stock. Yes, I, deal with the finances and do a whole bunch of other things. But actually, a huge part of my job is marketing because that's what we do these days. So, yeah, I think it's really hard to grow a brand without showing up on social media because
Mm.
people buy from people. So it's all about building community. And so if you don't feel comfortable doing that, I think you've already got a really hard barrier to entry.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because there is this sort of like pipe dream of like side hustles, and we got really into sort of, especially through like COVID and things like that, where people were making their own things and then wanting to sell them. And um yeah, if people don't know who they're buying from, it's kind of like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
does make it really,
I
really hard.
I mean, it's also a really hard time to start a business, and I don't want to put people off because there's so much joy in running your own business, and I love that I kind of get to do what I want to
Oh
do,
yeah.
and that I'm really proud of what I've built. But especially with things like handmade products, people don't see the value in things at the moment, and people don't have any money at the moment. So things like sustainability, like you said earlier, not only are you dealing with the I just can't because my brain is exploding, but also people can't think about the longevity and the money saving because they're surviving week by week at the moment.
Mm,
So you can put all the time and effort into making something incredibly beautiful that is highly valuable and is worth every dollar that you are charging. But if you don't have people that are willing to spend that money to buy it, then there's a missing gap there. So it's doing a bit of market research and working out whether people are going to spend, figure out the cheapest way to get to market and then change and grow from there. Don't invest tens of thousands of dollars to get everything perfect. just go, okay, I'm going to slap a website up, start a social media account,
Yeah.
make a small handful of products, chuck something on pre-order, whatever, build some hype, and then see if you've got a business before you go putting yourself into debt for something.
That's really great advice because yeah, like I say, I've talked about it a couple of times where even just small scale, like people wanting to um get donations for a page or something like that. You know, if you see someone post a story once about their page, um, and expect people to buy. It's like, no, people need to know who you are. Like, not
Yeah,
don't be afraid to put yourself out there and
yeah,
put your face to your name, essentially,
yeah,
because people buy from people they know. And,
absolutely.
you know, which yeah, I'm really glad that we sort of touched on this. I had another question about how to do you have any advice on being a resilient business? Because I feel like you have kind of like you've
Yeah,
up leveled multiple times, but you still remain your branding and like your what is the why of
yeah.
Bear Moo still like remains the same and comes through in your orders and on your socials and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
I think it's been a really hard few years in business. I think I was one of those typical kind of COVID stories. We started in mid 2018. We kind of were growing nicely and steadily, and then COVID hit and we took off, as a lot of e-commerce businesses did, because everybody was at home and had money and couldn't buy coffee, and so they did online shopping instead.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal. But that was the only business trajectory we knew. And so when COVID ended and everybody went back to the real world and this recession hit and suddenly nobody's got any money, we kind of stalled. And all of a sudden we're like, shit, how do we turn this around? Because
Yeah.
and it's still, I mean, I would say we're still in the thick of it at the moment. And there's been all of these like slogans going around in business. Last year it was all survive to 25. And we were like, okay, we can do this. Like, we'll get a little bit bigger overdraft at the bank and we'll streamline a few things and we'll do what we need to. And then we hit 25 and we're like, well, this is still shit. Right. How do
Yeah.
what's next? And I think you do have to be really resilient in business. We're unfortunately seeing so many small businesses shutting down all the time. And so, you've got to be willing to ride out some tough times and make some calculated risks. I think,
Mm.
you've got to be thinking about how you're going to grow and sustain the business even when things are really tough out there. And I mean, we're still in that phase of like hoping like hell it's going to pay off over the next couple of years because I feel like if you can survive the shit, then when it comes out the other side, you're kind of good to go. But we haven't been in this situation before, so we're still just kind of hopeful that when the shit ends at some point, it,
Yeah.
it will all be okay.
I feel like it's kind of like the cloth nappy thing. You just like have to like deal with the shit, but it's you're thinking long term. You got to keep
Yeah.
thinking over there rather than
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is really hard and like
Yeah.
all the who's and
And I
where's.
think I think resilience is also really important in business because not everybody's going to like you.
Yep.
And I'm like the ultimate people pleaser from way back. And that's led to some mistakes along the way. It's led to some staffing issues where, I was very, very close with a lot of our staff. And when we've had to have hard conversations or we've had to do restructures or we've had to do things, it sucks. There's been so
Yeah.
many tears over the years. And, you've got to at some point got put your business hat on and be thinking about what's right for the business and that shit because you can do things as kindly as you possibly can, but it still doesn't make it easy. Like at some point
Still a
there's that
hard thing.
yeah, to being have to be the business person and it's never been my strong point. It's something I'm working on because like the saying says, you can be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world and somebody still won't like peaches. And you see comments online and you get slammed for things left, right, and center, and you just kind of have to get back in your hole and go, okay, no, just focus on blinders on, focus on what I'm doing, and don't worry about everything else.
Yeah, and just like let it slip off. I've called myself a recovering people pleaser because I feel like you can never, after being a people pleaser once, you can never not be a it's just ingrained in there, it's stuck in there, but you find ways to walk with it.
Yeah,
And, be brave and have the courage to do the hard things, but also you still want to make sure everyone's okay. And that's
absolutely.
all
And I think
right.
you've got to get really good at having the hard conversations.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to speak up early before things become problems. And yeah, I don't know. It's definitely been a learning curve in that regard,
Yeah.
but it's part of being a business owner.
Yeah.
Mm.
On that though, on the flip side of that, I see like on your socials you get to do a whole lot of fun stuff as well. Like I see
Yeah.
you've recently started the Hundy Club, is it what
Yep.
it's called? For like everyone, people who have completed their 100th order, you give them little goodies, and I love seeing the little extras I love coming on your social media and going through the
Yeah.
warehouse and looking at all the little goodies and stuff. Like
It,
you do
it
get,
is. I think sometimes people see the social media and go, "Oh, that must be a really fun place to work." And I'm like, it is. But making a reel is like a 10-minute snippet of the day. Outside of that,
yeah.
I'm very, very hardworking people in here who uh are packing orders and are doing marketing strategy and are doing all sorts of things. But we definitely know how to have some fun, and we love cake, and we do lunches regularly, and we I try to look after the people, but also really look after our customers, because our without customers you don't have a business.
Mhm.
Um, we've got the best customers and some incredibly loyal customers. So yeah, it's nice to be able to reward and thank them.
Yeah, well, and you have loyal, repeat, wonderful customers because you have a really great business. Like, and I love how you guys keep it real too. Like some of your videos, there's one like when you come into work on Monday morning and want to just chill, and then people, you get an email saying like, "Where's my order?" and they ordered it.
Oh my
I get
gosh.
this in my other job too. It's just like these
Yeah.
questions of like, huh?
I I had this, it was literally only a couple of weeks ago, and somebody emailed on like a Monday afternoon, and they're like, it's past the deadline, like you said you ship orders within 48 hours. What's going on? And I'm like, you ordered on Saturday. Like we don't work weekends. So it'll be out by tomorrow. Yeah, I can prioritize it. And we've always done that. We've always prioritized orders. If people need it urgently, email
Yeah.
us and we'll prioritize it for you. But yeah, it comes back to that big business thing. Like we I think we've got a big social media presence and we've got a professional website. And so sometimes people forget that like we've got one pick packer. Like we're a small team of six, but only one is actually picking and packing orders. The rest of us help out when we need to and when we're busy, but we can only go as fast as we can go. We're not Amazon. We don't ship same, like we're just a different beast. And I think people sometimes we've got very high expectations now. And I feel it too. Like if I place something online, like place an order online and a few days later I haven't had shipping notification, I'm like, oh, I thought they were bigger than us and we would have had it out by now. So where is it? But I do think sometimes the expectations from customers are a little bit unrealistic. But most of the time we're pretty lucky.
Yeah, this is why I love to have these sorts of conversations as well, Hannah, because yeah, like in my other job, a lot of the products are and customers are America based. So they have literally you buy something on Amazon and it's like there either that day or the next morning. Like it's so
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Whereas we and who I work for, like rural New Zealand, it
Yeah.
takes an arm and a leg to
Yeah.
get something out of the country, let alone to your doorstep. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is a really important reminder as well that like yeah, that you're literally not a robot. You've got a
No,
team and one
without,
person doing the
yeah.
packing.
And
Yeah.
I think as well, like my big, I've worked in customer service, and I saw on a podcast the other day somebody talking about how they think it should be compulsory when people finish high school to do 1 year in either retail or customer service roles. And I'm like, oh my Lord, yes,
Yeah.
because like if something is wrong with your order or with a product or something, we will do our absolute best to fix it and pretty quickly. Um, but the way people approach you about it can be on varying levels of a scale of, oh my goodness, I'm really sorry, but this has happened, blah blah blah. And I'm like, no worries, I'll get you another one out today. Versus I'm really disappointed, like quite aggressive. And I'm just like, I understand that you're disappointed, but like I didn't purposely send you something that doesn't work. Like I'll fix it, I promise. So it's really interesting, kind of that varying level you get. And then once you fix the problem, people are so lovely about it. Um, but yeah, if you're dealing with a problem, sometimes maybe don't be too aggressive.
Yeah.
My advice to the general public. Yeah,
Yeah. I agree. You just have some compassion that it's a human being. Like I think we do get really stuck
absolutely.
in. probably from like the pandemic times like you were talking about, we were just dealing with screens and computers. So
Yeah,
sometimes we just forget and lose track of life that like online shopping seems really clicky and easy, but there are humans at the tail end of that a lot of the
yeah,
time. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I have another question before I ask you the token question, Hannah, and before we wrap up. But what inspired your product collection? Because you mentioned earlier that you've like tried things and then had to not stock those anymore and all the things without you needing
Yeah.
to, give all the tea. But yeah, what inspires you to collab with particular businesses?
So there's a couple of things. I mean, the cloth nappy started because we used them with our kids, and
Yeah.
I found that what was available on the market was either really expensive or not that cute. And I was like, surely there's a middle ground. So that was kind of where that spawned from originally. But now, when we're looking at what products we're going to add to the mix, um, part of it, I've got my kids are 3, 8, and almost 10. So part of it is, would they use it? Do they, would they be interested in it? It's got to feel like it's value for money. We've stocked some products in the past that have been kind of higher end, maybe a little bit bougier, and they just don't resonate with our audience. Our audience will spend money on something that is really good quality, but if it feels like it's got a bit of hype or a bit of a fad to it, they're not interested.
Yeah.
And so, we kind of have learned who our audience is. Part of it comes down to margins. Are we going to make enough money off this? Because, we've got bills that we have to pay. So there have definitely been some smaller businesses that I would love to stock and support, but because they're newer in business, they just can't make the financials work, which
Mhm.
sucks. But it's also, again, taking off the people pleasing hat and putting on the business hat. At some point, I have to stop saying yes to things that actually just don't serve the business.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess for me, it's continuing to check whether something is moving. So, if after 6 months we're only selling one a month of something, then we probably don't want to have it on the shelves anymore because it's just taking up space. So and also knowing when to get off trends. Like I think sometimes you can start stocking stuff because you can see that it's trending, but often trends kind of come and go. So
Yeah.
you can kind of start to predict, okay, this isn't moving the way that it used to. Let's stop selling it and bring something else
Yeah.
new and fun and exciting in instead. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I love the if is it something like that you and your kids used? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I've seen your clothing line has like ticked all my little boxes, which are the things that I like from a bigger brand.
Yeah.
But you've made it more like not achievable, accessible
Yeah.
to me rather than that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that again, that filters through what the products that you're giving out and your business branding, all the things.
Yeah. It's important that we're getting things that well, particularly with our own brand stuff that we know that we can put our name behind. And yeah, that the products we're selling are things that we would buy, that we would want in our home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like I could just talk to you so much longer, but we needs must, and we need to wrap up here. So, the token question I ask all of my guests on the podcast is, what does being a walnut mean to you?
And I had to do a little bit of thinking on this one, but I think for me, it's about being true to yourself. So I think there's some bravery involved in that, but I also think it's about knowing when something's serving you and when something isn't, or knowing when um, when you need to say no to something. I think we talked before about being in that kind of hustle mode and that hustle culture, but actually sometimes that's just a bit shit, and you don't want to be in hustle mode. You want to just stop and reflect and prioritize yourself and your happiness. So I think for me, yeah, it's about being true to yourself and authentic to yourself, and recognizing what serves you and what you need, um, and being okay with not doing what everybody else is doing all the time.
Delicious. I'm just letting that sink into my body. That was so divine. Thank you so much. Is there anything, Hannah, left on your heart that you feel like you haven't shared? If you feel like there's a walnut listening that's like, I don't even know, I want to start a business or I need to buy something baby-esque. Is there anything you feel like you have left, have not?
Oh, look, all the things like you said, I could talk for days about this. No, I mean I think if it's product related and you've got questions, or if it's starting a business related, always feel free to reach out. You can DM us or you can email us through as well. And always happy to help. I think just no matter what stage you are in your life, just always remember to surround yourself with people that bring you joy and that lift you up and that help you be the best version of yourself. And so if you're looking to start a business, surround yourself with other people that you can talk to about that stuff. Or if you're in the mix of parenting, find friends that you can be you with. I think that's, yeah, incredibly important.
Ugh, I am like tearing up because it just hit me in the feels. That's really, really sound delicious. Delicious advice. Walnut, if you enjoyed this episode, please take a little screenshot and share and tag us. And like we said, if you've got any questions, send us a message, all the things. And I will link all Hannah's and Bear Moo's details in the show notes. And yeah, Hannah, thank you very, very much for
You're so
visiting
welcome.
Walnut Wednesday. This has been an amazing chat. And thank you for all you do and all you are and for helping us with all the baby things.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
I will talk to you next week. Bye.